Hello there. This is Francis Atunzo from Acara Partners. I'm happy to be here to present to you today the state of the industry, the state of the aesthetic industry. I've been around for quite a few years. Actually, it was 1996 when Acara, which owned the largest and one of the top day spas in Boston, merged with Candela, one of the top laser companies, publicly traded laser companies. And through that merger of 1996, we actually formed the medical spa industry, the aesthetic industry. Since then, we've done quite a bit. Acara Partners has acquired over 24 top day spas to form a large entity that we successfully sold to a group in Toronto. We operated and actually first took out of bankruptcy and operated a chain of 37 medical spas on the West Coast in the middle of 2000, 2006, 7, going into 8, and successfully sold that to an entity up in Vancouver. We have worked with over 350 different aesthetic medical practices. We have launched over 160 different aesthetic medical practices, whether it be med spas, aesthetic practices for dermatologists and or plastic surgeons or other non-core physicians. We also have a marketing division that is exclusive to the aesthetic medical industry, and we have our consulting division. Altogether, there's about 24 individuals located at our offices here on the shoreline in Connecticut. So why don't we start and begin to talk a little bit about the industry and what is happening. Okay, let's first talk about the size of the industry. AmSpa had done a report that they published in 2019. That report showed there was about 5,431 medical spas in the US. Industry size at that point was about 8.29 billion. Oh, and by the way, AmSpa is doing another study they're collecting data for right now. It's going to be published in 2022. So if you have the time, please go to their website and complete the questionnaire so they can gather as much data as possible so it is as accurate and informative as possible. Also, there is a group called Market and Markets. They've put out a study that shows by 2025, the size of the industry is going to be 15.9 billion, which is basically doubling from what it is today. So it's really, or actually from 2019. So it's really exciting to see that growth and what is happening in our industry. A few things about some other numbers. It shows that the average profit margin is 29%. But from what we see in the collection of our data with all of our different clients, and that's quite a few. I mean, we have 45 clients at any given time. We're launching 15 medical spas right now over the next 12 months. So we see more of about 20 to 24%, probably in that range that you want to shoot for. The 25.9% may be that if it's a physician-owned location, they typically take from the bottom line. They don't take a salary out of the business. So when you fully load it, it probably drops it to about 20, 22, 23% or so. That's one interesting piece of information. The other is the 1.5 is right on track for the typical med spa revenue. That works nicely. The 17% that are multi-site, that seems a little bit high, most likely because multi-site are larger, have more capability, and completed the survey more frequently than the single site locations. That's, to us, we would estimate 10% are multi-site. But these numbers are really solid. Go to these numbers to help you think about your business and to plan what's going on with your business. The demographics coming out of that study, well, they showed that 87% are female seems very accurate. We figure 85 to 90% at any given time are female. I know we talk about the emerging male focus. We've been talking about the emerging male focus since we started this industry in 1996. So yes, there are more men, but at the same time, there's more females in the industry. So they're not outpacing, the men are not outpacing the women by any means. 53% ages 35 to 54. Yes, that seems very accurate. Really, that's the strength of the marketplace, the 35, 54-year-old. But emerging is the 18 to 34-year-old. Keep an eye on that group. They want fillers. They want baby Botox, preventive Botox. They want non-invasive body contouring. They want muscle tightening and all the other procedures that we're offering fairly actively, and they're jumping in with 2 feet. You know, they've grown up seeing their mom and their possibly dad participate in medical spa type procedures and services, and they want to as well. Household income, 75,000 to 200,000. Pretty typical. Once you get over 200,000, most likely they have their own dermatologist, they're older, and or they've been to a plastic surgeon for a lift or whatever the procedure may be, and thus they're capturing that 200,000 plus market. All right, trending procedures. Well, I just jumped to one of my favorite sites, Real Self, right? The data is very accurate. There are lots of people going to Real Self and completing the questionnaires, and so this is what we're seeing trending right now. Plasma pen, Morpheus 8, Vampire Facial, Aquilix, RF microneedling. Interesting, the RF is a big component here. Some of these things are a procedure, some are like more of a device, but it's the procedures that the device performs. Keep in mind, Vampire Facial, extremely popular, has now been for quite a few years. And it is, though, a trademark service. You cannot use the word Vampire Facial unless you've gone through the training, and then you actually pay a monthly fee, which is not a hefty amount. It's probably worthwhile to pay that monthly fee in order to use the Vampire Facial expression for that procedure. So that's what we see happening right now. Some new entries, notable new entries. Emsculpt Neo has hit the market in a big way. It's incredible what they're doing. This is a combination of radio frequency and high intensity electromagnetic energies. This combination not only tightens muscle, but it reduces fat. Okay, so very excited to see this as it grows and becomes much more popular. BTL has done an excellent job with the Emsculpt Neo. Before it was just Emsculpt. It was just the tightening. It wasn't the fat reduction at that point. Quo has become very popular. Cellulite injections. And a lot of practices have adopted this. It's easy, obviously. It's not too expensive to adopt into your practice. And the marketplace thinks it's pretty fantastic. Getting rid of cellulite, good going, right? All right, so the last thing here is a notable new entry is Cyton's new hair removal device. It's like, how is a hair removal device a notable new entry? Hair removal has been around for the past 3 decades, pretty much. Well, the fact is they're stating that you could do a full back in 1 minute, not 1 hour, which is very typical, but actually 1 minute. So we're looking to see if this plays out the way they're saying, and if it is, I bet you a lot of people will be buying Cyton's Bare HR. It speeds things up. You can get a full back out the door in 15 minutes or less, and all other large body areas, full legs, you know, full arms, and things of that nature. So very interesting, very exciting. Let's talk about some of the demand theories that we saw with post-COVID. Can't ignore the fact that we just did go through COVID, and we're still going through it. on a different level, and it's still a big factor in our lives. The first thing we saw, pent-up demand. It was incredible what happened in 2020, in June, end of June really, July and the beginning of August. There was all this pent-up demand. People who couldn't get their Botox, who couldn't get their filler, who couldn't get their hair removal, things that were cyclical, that couldn't get their hydrofacial, who couldn't get their monthly facial. They were biting at the bit, right? They couldn't wait to get back in, and they did, and they rushed in. We saw numbers like we've never seen before with so many of our clients, and I know talking to other medical spas, they saw the same thing happening. That was pretty incredible. Then the Zoom theory, right? Whether it be Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, whatever, but people were looking at themselves for hours, right? At a time. And it's like, in consultations, you oftentimes hand somebody a mirror and you say, look in the mirror and tell me what you see. Well, these people were spending hours in the mirror, basically, and they saw things that they didn't like, whether it be things that they wanted to lift up, browns they wanted to get rid of, pore size they didn't like, reds they wanted to get rid of, and it really helped to, if we jump to number 4, expand the market. Not only did spending so much time on a Zoom call help expand the market, but the fact is people had extra time. During the shutdown, they had a lot of extra time, and they spent it on the internet. They spent a lot of it looking up aesthetic medical procedures and treatments and what they could do. In addition to that, the expansion of that market, they had discretionary dollar that all of a sudden they didn't have before. They weren't going out to dinner. They weren't traveling. The discretionary dollar increase actually still is there to some degree. People are going out to dinner, but people aren't traveling as much. So you still have a fair amount of discretionary dollars being diverted into aesthetic medicine, right? So that was market expansion, discretionary dollars, the Zoom effect, and of course, pent-up demand, which happened just at the beginning there. Let's talk about how Acara defines a full-service medical spa. A medical spa that offers clinical skincare services and products, injectables, skin rejuvenation, whether it be laser, microneedling, etc., non-invasive body contouring, hair removal, plus other procedures and treatments, right? And that is more of a full-service medical spa. The numbers that we see, well, the investment to do a full-service medical spa, $1 million to $1.3 million. Can you do it cheaper? Sure. When you get too cheap, what happens? You risk not being competitive in your marketplace. So be careful. But typically, with so many new technologies coming on the market, needing to invest in technology, which used to be like a $300,000 investment, now it's, with all the different technologies, pushing up to $550, $650. That's we see the investment to launch $1 million to $1.3 million. Now, you don't have to come up with $1 million to $1.3 million. Obviously, people finance these through bank financing, SBA loans, almost 100% of the time. So you're looking at 20% of that investment. So $200,000 to $250,000 of cash down, and the rest is a business loan that's carried by the business. Mature sales, we are seeing 4th and 5th year sales at approximately $1.8 to $2.5 million per location. And we're seeing mature profit margins at 20% is where the majority. Now we have outliers, 24% down to 16 or 17%, but on average, that 20% margin is pretty much what we see for medical spas in this day and age. A few future predictions. Okay, one of the things is, it's interesting, there's nurse practitioner autonomy happening across the country. Many states are adopting nurse practitioner autonomy, where a nurse can practice medicine on her own. She can diagnose, and she can treat, and she can supervise. All right, so what does it mean? Well, you're seeing a lot more nurse practitioners become med spa medical directors. Now, in some states, you can't use the term medical director, I think that the regulatory, the medical board finds it misleading, but that's all right. You can just call it clinical director typically. But you also see nurse practitioners becoming med spas, med spa owners. And this is a trend nationwide. We may have right now 15 to 20 different states that have nurse practitioner autonomy, but we are adding states as we go along. I did note that we're beginning to see some PA, physician assistant autonomy in some states. I think there's one, maybe two right now. So it may start happening with that credential as well. So keep an eye on that, definitely. Healthcare systems are diversifying their portfolio. We're seeing quite a few rehab centers, detox centers, hospital systems adding medical spas or cash-based practices typically for these entities. And they see it as a way to increase their bottom line. They act similar to the other businesses that they're in. So it makes just a natural for them to want to be in medical spas. Future industry consolidation beginning to happen. Private equity beginning to dip their big toe in the water. One thing we're seeing is that there's not a lot of inventory, quality inventory out there. So I think that's holding back the private equity groups and other investment groups like strategics that want to get into the medical spa industry on a multi-site level. But it definitely is being talked about. There's definitely a few out there that are doing some consolidation. Definitely see this as an exit. If you're getting a little older, you're getting burned out, whatever it may be, this could be the way to get out and make some decent money as you do it as well, just in a retirement sense. There's definitely an increase in franchising. Med Spa 810, Beverly Hills Rejuvenation Center, plus others, but those are just a few that are out there, and franchises are available to the right person, the person who wants to get into the industry. It's definitely an exciting way to do it. Not so interested in coming up with a whole new concept, but interested in running a nice medical spa business. So that's what we see happening out there. That's the state of the industry that we're in. I'm sure you have questions, and please feel free to email me. And my email address is facunzo@acarapartners.com. The Instagram handle for Acara Partners is @AcaraPartners, and feel free to reach out to that as well. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you joining me today, and we'll talk very soon.